going to move here towards Western Canada, and I'm going to bring in Karen Judge. Karen Judge, how are you?
Great.
Oh, hi, her Karen. Background. Look
what
at
a
that
beautiful
background.
Looks.
I'm putting the shame. I know. I gotta up my game now.
That's beautiful.
It's what
Karen
I do.
Judge, good to see you. Now, just for transparency purposes, everybody, I'm familiar with Karen Judge. Okay, so I know Karen Judge, and I just thought it was. We talked about 3 shows ago, Stephen. Just to let you know, she was in the comments, and you said, "Hey, why don't you bring her on the show? And we should get her on the show." And I said. So I made a note of it, and I thought, okay, I'd reach out to her to fulfill the promise. So Karen is in Calgary, Alberta, backyard right here, and she's got a cool little setup down there, as you can see. Thank you for joining us, Karen. I'm going to throw you to Stephen, and away you go.
Wow. Well, Stephen, it's so awesome to meet you. Of course, I love watching when you and Peter do these shows, and you never disappoint. Let me say, my head is so full right now. I already have 4 pages of notes. That's what usually happens because that's what I do. But I just think, talking about even just a question, you really answered my question with your first diagram that you created, because what I do is I have a business. I've been in research of my business for the last 8 years. I transitioned from a business and did a whole career switch just because of I had a personal crisis in my life, and it was a time where, and in crisis we really realized the health of our mind and where we're at, and it's truth serum. And I realized that I felt like I had a bigger calling. And my bigger calling was really to impact change around mental health. And so started my journey on a new business, researching it, and have spent the last 8 years in complete research and development of studying neuroscience, positive psychology, mental health training, human development, combining it with my own life story. And I did a lot of it for myself because I felt like after crisis, I had every checkbox that I myself could experience a mental health challenge, and I had the awareness of it. And I knew that I didn't want to. I wanted to break the cycle. So I went out and I learned basically how to achieve and sustain a healthy and happy mind. And then I now feel like I have a responsibility to share that with the world. And so back in 2019, it was really about execution, and I wanted to execute my business and get louder about it. Of course, started building this 7,500 square foot space, which you can't see, which is behind me. My business is all about offering people experiences, education, products, services, all that elevate the wellness of the mind and connect to the science of happiness. I opened this space just a couple months before COVID. So of course I have a COVID challenge here, but we're figuring that out. But my biggest thing and my biggest challenge is the messaging behind what I do. And I think that your first diagram really answered a lot for me. And I really was entertained by it because I am definitely a big picture person, right brain. And it's so funny that you said metaphor, because I'm about to launch my book called Drive Your Happiness. And I happen to use the metaphor of driving a car to teach people about how to build a healthy and happy brain. And my biggest challenge is really about getting this message out there. Mental health is not an easy conversation. As much as we're talking about it a lot, it's still very uncomfortable. People don't really understand it. They don't know where to start. There's a lot of stigma to it. There's a lot of isolation. And I just have such a big heart like you. I have huge love, and I just care so much. And I really realize, there are answers out there and there are hope, and I want to get these answers out to people, and I do it through proactive wellness. And it's how to get that out there and how to not feel like I have a lump on the side of my head, because I think a lot of people just glaze over and they don't even know that they're still in like what I call the unconscious incompetence stage. We don't know what we don't know, and we're not taught this in life of how to build a healthy brain. We wait till it's too late and we have our crisis moment. So really that diagram really helped me because it really explained to me of not trying to explain it in a way that makes sense to me, but all the different, that you showed through there. So that was hugely helpful. I love the topic of human optimization, and really where I'm at is how do I optimize my business now and the message that I have.
Cool. Okay. And if everyone, if I'm writing when you're talking, trust me, I'm listening. Oh boy, am I listening. So I know it might look as if it's rude to do that, but I'm listening. We're going to do clarity, confidence, and creativity. This section will be cut out and sent to you as a separate piece on YouTube. So you'll be able to watch your individual piece again. And then obviously we'll cut all different bits and pieces out. But so to everyone watching, this is actually inspired by Karen. You said your clarity began with research, transition, a switch, a crisis, and a trigger. That's what you said in terms of your journey, and I don't know all the details. But your clarity, everyone, needs to be based on research, transition, switch, crisis, and trigger. And if you think of what Justin said, all of that is curiosity, insatiable curiosity to enable that to happen. So that's the first point. Second point is people don't want to know, and I've said this repeatedly on the show, and it's going to become almost another mantra of mine. People aren't wanting your knowledge; they're craving your expression of confidence. People will follow you into the valley of death, even if they don't understand why they're going. But if you show them this is where you should go, they'll follow. So the very first thing that you need to do, based on the research, transition, switch, crisis, and trigger, is actually be an expression of your confidence and replace message with example. Because your journey from clarity to confidence is, because of my research, transition, switch, crisis, and trigger, that clarity has given me the confidence to express it. I'm not going to message anything to anyone. I'm going to example it. Inspiring insights is not me creating messages. It's me getting you to ask me on-the-spot questions and me just instantaneously helping you. To show off? No, I haven't got time to show off. I've got too much time to make you better. I want you to look in the mirror and love what you see. And I'm on a mission to get everyone to do it, and I need your help. So I'm building an army of people who are so focused on others. So your expression of confidence then becomes your example, and it replaces your messaging. And your creativity is based on experiences, positivity, and timing. One of the messaging structures and example structures that you need to create based on this model, remember what I said about big picture, detailed, left and right, you need to start creating models that take people on the journey from where they're starting to the stagnation of what they're feeling and the stalemate that they're in. And if you can get them to feel confident that they can actually break through with the stigma and the stalemate feeling they've got in their life about the issues, if you can help them with the experience and the positivity and the timing of that by modeling start, stigma and stagnate and let's go, that example of your confidence is in the 5-step model of research, transition, switch, crisis, and trigger. And I can do that separately with you at another time. But the number one, high level, look at the number one thing you found in each one of those 5 steps. Number 2, make that the foundational confidence of the example. Number 3, your creativity is what experience, positivity, and timing, knowing that people have got some type of false start, some type of stigma, and some type of stalemate in the issue that you're dealing with. Some people's start might be, well, it's COVID now, so what do I do? Some people's start is the stigma of what they think it is. Shannon was on, I think it was last week's show or the week before, and the stigma about, her belief system of what her relationship choices and her sexuality choices are. There's a stigma and stalemate about it. But guess what? If we ever lived in a time of your example of confidence and your expression of confidence being an open door, everything is up for grabs now. Everything. So if you can be an example of what you stand for through experiences, positivity, and timing, people will start, they'll get rid of the stigma, they'll get rid of the stalemates, and they'll start craving you.
Okay, I'm there.
Wow. I love that, Stephen. And Karen, let me ask you something, because in the intro you're talking about this space that you have there, and I just, as soon as I hear the word space, Stephen, we just talked about it at the beginning of the show. How we're communicating now today, and how we're spending time communicating online like this. So if you have a space, so Karen, you have a space, you said 7,500 square feet of space. How do you optimize gathering and getting together? Steve, it's almost posing this question to you, Stephen. How can an entrepreneur today take advantage of their physical locations when really we're actually encouraging people to stay away from these physical locations? I'm just curious if we have an answer for that.
No, we do, because this.
Okay.
I'm on the other side of the world talking to people in North America right now. I've got people are giving up sleep to be able to listen to me speak. It's the most humbling experience of my life. I'm standing in an apartment in Sydney. I don't normally live in Sydney. I'm stuck here because of COVID. I've turned the apartment into a studio using hardware and all kinds of different things and expensive lighting, because I've created an environment to be an expression of my confidence. So here's my number one tip for you. If you've got 7,500 square meters and because of the circumstances of where we are in 2020, you can't fill it, stand in the middle of 7,500 square meters and have such an example of the conviction of your expression of confidence, it'll feel like the room's packed. So the very first thing that you do is probably remove away from the physical space of 7,500 and start thinking of what do you do to actually fill someone's space. Because right now I'm standing in an apartment on the other side of the world. I'm into tomorrow, but yet I've got people who are giving up sleep. Thanks, Sarah. Who are giving up sleep, and Katja in the Netherlands, they're giving up sleep on the other side of the world. And guess what? They're not sitting in 7,500 square meters. They're sitting at their kitchen tables. So the number one thing is get away from thinking you need to optimize a physical space in the COVID 2020 world. How do you optimize a virtual space of the sentiment of someone else's soul, their heart, their mind, by giving them a 5-step process of how to get out of the stigma of, I've got 7,500 square meters, what do I do with it? I only saw Tony Robbins recently. He's got this monstrous big screen and he's doing his seminars with this arch screen. I don't know, it's ridiculously big, but it's him. So he's now surrounding himself with all of these images of people. So the number one thing to do is if you've got a space, for the rest of your life, fill the space of someone's heart, soul, and mind and stop thinking about it in the context of bricks and mortar. And in the goodness of time, when the 7,500 square meters, please God, please universe, allows us to get back together and do what we humans do best, cluster, embrace, nurture, learn, encourage, you'll be ready. A space is not defined by the size of your bricks and mortar. A space is defined by your courage to commit, your courage to embrace, and your courage to be an example in the face of failure and fail in front of everyone on the street of life until you learn how you can help them, because that's exactly what I've done. Peter?
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Oh, Karen, I hope you got that.
I totally get it, and I totally agree. Yeah, sure, I do. I totally get that. Yeah.
I love that.
There's some mechanics of how you can do it. There's some mechanics of how you can do it. And the mechanics of how you do it is in the framework of how you've arrived where you are.
I'm there.
Fantastic.
I'm there. I love it.
Okay, Karen Judge, you stay with us in the green if you can. And thank you for that question. It was fantastic. And